muted this idea of putting a caretaker. I said no, conduct the election. That was what we agreed on. Some people around him now told him that he can dispense with me now. Well, am I the one that will force him to do what he didn't want to do at that time? Maybe he had his own reasons, but I had a more compelling reason to demand for that election as the chairman of the party, particularly as we had agreed to it. He had set up, he had planned to conduct the election, believing that what we had as a discussion in December 2009 between me and him and Dojuku would be followed. So he wasn't ready for the election at that time. We had a strained relationship for 2 months, because I said no. I knew what I was demanding to be done. Our party people were not in any level of government. We weren't in the House of Assembly, we weren't in the Senate, we weren't in the House of Reps, we weren't in the local government system because there were no caretakers. The government was run with head of service of local governments. So I was under pressure as a party leader to find accommodation to our party members. That was the principle I had, But gradually, some people felt that I was overreaching my powers as national chairman of the party. And somehow, I know Peter looked the other way and left some people to try to remove me as chairman of ABGA. That was what happened. So we weren't quarreling over money or anything or contracts, just this principle. And that was what they mismanaged for nearly 3 years. And finally, remember, I was removed as chairman. They put some other person, Mark Zioku. I went through the court and set it aside and recovered my seat. It was a very tough battle for me, standing against government. And when Rochas Okorocha came on board, I played very great role in getting Rochas Okorocha become governor of Imo State. He had his own ideas, and suddenly they had the ABGA Governors Forum. That's why I laugh. I laugh now. At a point, I was able to get 2 states for ABGA that were able to have 2 governors, and now had ABGA Governors Forum. They dictated to me what to do, to dissolve the structures of the party in Anambra and Imo. And I said, no, these are people who were elected through congresses. Why will I remove them from their office unconstitutionally? Because, power is might in Nigeria. The 2 governors coming together, writing a joint letter to me to dissolve the structures, and I said no. I was pitched in a battle between 2 of them on behalf of the party, because I was fighting for the party people, nothing about me at all. Along the line, it became convenient to push for me to be removed. And I was taking it by their strides. Along the line, 2 of them parted ways again, and what led to the parting of ways was Okorocha wanted ABGA to be merged with the new party they were about forming, which later became APC. I said no, ABGA will not join the merger. So Okorocha severed relationship with me and jumped into the merger on his own. Because he has a state government, unlawfully, he took his team to that merger and became an illegal faction of the merger. Said he was leading a faction of ABGA without anybody in leadership of ABGA. So, but I held the fabric of the party, continued to be in the struggle, and eventually, a judgment was procured. My leadership was sacked. I appealed against the judgment. While a stay of execution of the judgment was pending, they conducted a convention overnight and put in a new leadership for ABGA. In the morning, next day, that was 8th of April 2013. In the morning, the Court of Appeal sat in Enugu and granted me a stay of execution of the the 5 court judgment that sacked my leadership. That was how things turned around again. And we continued the struggle. The main appeal was taken, and I won the appeal. So I got back fully as national chairman of ABGA. These were things that were mismanaged through the prodding of people who would not like any good thing to endure. They decided to separate me and Peter Of course, many people who we had defeated in the past, they wade into the crisis, trying to excavate it, to make it unresolvable. That every effort made to resolve the disagreement failed. But then, when I won at the Court of Appeal, the election was by the corner. We made a fragile peace. It turned out to be. And we went to the election together and produced Obiano as the successor to Peter Obi. We campaigned together, and that happened. A lot of bad blood had been generated in the process. So along the line, Peter decided to go to PDP. He decided to go to PDP and leave ABGA, And we tried to stay on, to hang on, and we continued to do it. We went into the election in 2007. Peter was leading the PDP. I was leading the ABGA bid, and Obiano won a second term. These were purely everybody fighting for his party. That was the disagreement. But in 2001 again, we went to another election that produced Soludo. I led that campaign, and ABGA won again. But, in life, a lot of things can happen. And people will continue to reflect over the past. When the present governor blocked me from becoming the ABGA candidate for Anambra Central Senatorial District on the concealed ground that we disqualified him in 2013 to contest contesting the governorship through ABGA. He returned it, and when we did everything we did for him to win, and he went in and then went back to 2013 and stood against me. So that's his life for you. And Peter, after 10 years of our being in opposite camps, called me and asked me to come over and said he didn't find the treatment I received from the present governor acceptable, and asked me to come, let's play together again. He knew my strengths, and I knew Peter's strengths. Even when we disagreed, I was the one making case for him to be given the presidential ticket of PDP. That is a competent person to run Nigeria. I know Peter's capacity. I know where he has his shortcomings. I know where his strengths lie. I know that if it is to provide prudent government to Nigeria, he will do it. He did it in Anambra State. Peter is somebody who can put money together. He's not somebody who is given to frivolous lifestyles. He wants to get value for every kobo that comes his way. And he tried it in Anambra State and turned the state around. The only place where we had issues were on this principle of non-conduct of local government election, and nothing at all. So it was easy for him to look beyond what people say that we are enemies. We are not enemies. Early this year, in April this year, Peter sent me a text message and invited me to the traditional marriage of his daughter. And I attended the traditional marriage ceremony. And when I entered the arena, his media aide said that when I came in, the place was electrified. So it showed that they were missing me. We were missing each other. But we were kept apart because of politics and activities of people who hang around people who are leaders. They will continue to tell you, oh, don't do this with this. This man is becoming too powerful. Let us cut into size. From there, they will derail a noble mission. But I thank God that after 10 years, Peter asked me to come back. Let us come again. And in our conversation that lasted about an hour and a half on the 29th of May, Peter told me that things have gone bad because two of us separated. People separated two of us. That if we had been together, the state wouldn't have gone through some turbulence it went through in the past 10 years. And I agree with him. It was a very touching statement he made to me. And when we came back together, oh, people are now playing it back. Oh, Victor Umeh called Peter Obi names. Oh, this and that. Peter knew what happened. And I don't tell my stories in the public. I've never for one day said anything negative, apart from the normal political talks, this and that. And everybody hanging onto his own ground. There were things they said about me, I don't want to bring back. So we have made peace. Like I said, what is the situation between me and Peter now? We are very strongly together because I'm convinced that the God we serve wants to use Peter to redeem Nigeria. All those strong attributes he has that he used to govern Anambra State, he will bring them to bear in running Nigeria. Now it become a prophetic statement that he makes. He says, I want to take Nigeria out from consumption to production. It is resonating everywhere. And one thing I
Thank
can
you,
tell you is
Senator.
that he can fight corruption. He can fight corruption, and that is the bane of this
Let,
country.
let, let's let's take some more inputs.
Okay.
Let's take some more inputs. Questions.
Hmm.
Either please, if a question has been asked that you had wanted to ask, just skip it so that we can move on. Priscilla, are you
Thank
there?
you. Yes, I am. I am. Thank you so
Go
much,
ahead.
Senator, for your very elaborate explanations of every single event. You even do that with timing and dates, rather. And I cannot even remember my birthday sometimes, some years actually. So you are so spot on with your narratives. We do have quite a number of people here, sir, who would like to ask you questions. So I'm wondering, sir, if you could consider giving us a summarized brief of these events that still respond to these questions, but
Okay.
so that a lot of people will be able to partake in this
Can I ask
conversation,
a
sir.
question?
Okay. Okay.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
well,
Ebuka,
well
please go on.
noted. Well noted. Yeah, come on.
Okay, yeah,
Ebuka, please
thank you.
kindly ask your
Can you
question.
hear me, sir?
I'm hearing you.
Okay. First, a quick one. I want to know if Obiano was Peter Obi's first choice in his successor, and also we know that Soludo is not backing Peter Obi with the
So there's
Abga
no
structure.
what?
Ebuka, we have one question, please, so that other people can ask theirs. Thank you.
All right.
What did you say?
Let me just ask this question, please. I said we
Yes.
know that Soludo is not. I feel like he's not backing Peter with his letter that he wrote. So I don't know. As in, is it resonating with the whole Abga structure in Anambra? Because I know you have some friends still in Abga in Anambra State. Yeah, thank you.
I didn't get your question clearly because you first mentioned Obiano and then talked about Soludo. So what is the issue you want me to respond to?
Okay, maybe you didn't hear me. I was like, if Obiano was Peter's first choice for his successor in Anambra State.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't. The reason Obiano emerged was because we came out from a very long drawn leadership disagreement in the party. The party was divided. Those who were following Mr. Peter Obi as governor and those who were following me as the national chairman of the party. And when I won the case at the Court of Appeal, and the governorship election was by the corner, we had to submit ourselves to some kind of arbitration so that we could forge a common front to go to that election. It was during that arbitration that, on my own part, I reasoned that the best thing to do to bring everybody together would be to have somebody who was not part of the crisis to be the candidate. That was my own informed reasoning, that it would be better to get somebody who did not take part in the very uh, 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 stressful disagreement we had to be able to unite everybody. So of course he made Obi made his preferences. I made my preferences, and when our choices could not work together, I told him to bring a neutral person. I was the one who mentioned that there was a man I had that worked in their bank who wanted to be governor. Nobody heard about him again. And in all earnestly, as I'm talking to you, I had no relationship with Obiano. I didn't know him. I had seen him only once at a convocation at the University of Port Harcourt. So Peter asked me, "Do you know him?" I said, "No, this is how I know. I don't tell lies as a person." So I told him I have seen him only once at the convocation at the University of Port Harcourt in 2011. You know, So I hadn't any relationship with. I didn't even have his number. He said, "Will he be accepted?" I said, "I consider him. If you can put him forward, that it will be better, so that everybody in the party will have sense of relief, that there will be no witch hunting or kind of division again when the government is formed." At that point, St. Peter's accepted. That's how Obiano came into the picture. And it was Peter that was told to reach out to him and bring him on board, and he did. That's how Obiano emerged. That's the summary. So he wasn't his first choice, and this is the circumstance that threw him up, but he still came through Peter because he was the one who contacted him to come. Then he was in America. I didn't know him. I didn't have any contact to him. That's how he emerged, So he became governor, or our candidate, out of this situation that the disagreement engendered. And I was looking for safety on all sides. So that's how it happened.
Well, thank you, sir, for your response. We'll be going on to the next person. Arigosaki, please kindly make your
He said
ask
something
your
about
question, sir.
Soludo. What did he say about Soludo?
Okay, you'd like to take on that
I
question.
want to take it
Ebuka, so
because it's very
quickly.
important now.
I said it is obvious from Soludo's letter that he is not backing Peter, except he has changed his mind. So I want to know if it is the same with the ABGA structure in Anambra, since I know you have some friends over there in Anambra, the party.
Whether he has changed his mind.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I didn't hear you clearly. Let me get that question succinctly.
It is clear from Soludo's letter that he does not back Peter Obi's presidency.
Yeah.
I want to know if it is the same mindset with all ABGA structure in Anambra State.
Oh, okay, that's a question. Well, his letter was very unfortunate, to say the least. Even I didn't join the conversation when that letter came out. A lot of people had written on it, and I'll use this opportunity to express disappointment that he could author such a letter. From the beginning to the end, he contradicted himself. I didn't see the mission in that letter that he wrote, if he was not acting out of malice. It didn't make sense at all. In terms of the ABGA structure in Anambra State, remember that party, I was its national chairman for 10 years. And the party structure, I'm firmly connected to the party structure. What is happening now is that he became governor and decided to use the power of a governor to muscle everybody in the party. And when he started, I objected to some of the decisions he made early enough that they were not in the interest of the party. And maybe that may be one of the reasons why he stood against me, and I didn't care. So today I can tell you that that letter, ABGA faithfuls in Anambra State received the letter with shock and surprise. They condemned that letter. They're not in support of that letter. Because we are one people, all of us are Anambra people, we are Igbo people. P2B was part of ABGA. Myself and P2B established the party. We gave it the life it has. When Peter left, I stayed behind to continue to sustain the life in the party. That was why the party was able to get a second term for Obiano. That was why the party was able to get Soludo elected